Hi, I'm Julie Leonard, life coach and happiness evangelist, and I'm so excited to talk about this week's topic, something I've been looking forward to discussing for a really long time, and that is how books make us feel happy. I'm a lifelong reader. As far back as I can remember, my parents were reading me stories in bed. I love to fall asleep to the sound of a story. And as you know, I was a very quiet and shy and introverted child. And I spent a lot of time with my head in a book. I spent a lot of time in the library on a Friday evening as a very small child picking books. But that carried on throughout my childhood and my teenage years. And I spent a lot of the summer holidays in the library. And I used to read and read and read. I won loads of certificates for competitions for the amount of books you could read. I've just loved reading, and my parents really instilled that joy of reading in me. And I used to spend all my pocket money on books, and I don't think that's really changed much. If you look at my wish list, they're always of books. So I've always been an avid reader, and I think it's really contributed to my feelings of happiness. I love that I can escape into a different world for a while. I really enjoy that I can learn so much from reading a book. I feel like I can grow as a person, that there's so much of my personal development with books. I just love books, and I've always got several on the go. I do love to buy books and have big stacks of books. And I wanted to share with you that the Japanese who come up with these fantastic words, they even have a word for somebody who buys lots of books and stacks them up, which is a Sundoku. And I love this. It means someone who like gathers them and has piles of them on the floor or shelves or like on your nightstand. Are you one of those people? But I love to do that, and particularly with like non-fiction books, personal development books. I love them. I go, oh, I want to read that one. I want to read that one. And I find myself having stacks of them. And so last year, one of my New Year resolutions was to read one self-development or non-fiction book per month. To actually read them. And that's what I set out to do. And I did that. In fact, I actually read, I think, around 19 books, non-fiction books last year. And I love that. I love reading all these words of wisdom and learning so much from them and just feeling that personal development, that personal growth from reading them. Plus, I'm in several book groups and I've read a number of like fiction books for them. And then I always have a kind of very easy chick lit book on my Kindle that I read as I fall asleep at night. So I've always got a number of books on the go and I'm always reading. But I got very intentional about that as something that brings me joy and makes me feel happy. I got very intentional about that last year and made it a priority in my day. I made time to read. And I know that many people say, oh, I don't have a lot of time to read, or I don't know what to read, or I don't have any good books to read. But a lot of people do struggle, of course, to make time for that. But I hope at the end of this video, you will want to make time to read because I'm going to share with you why reading is so good for us. And you'll be amazed, just like the research that's done around it and why it is so good for us. So we chatted about it in the Happiness Club on Monday evening, and it was great. People that came, many people loved reading, loved books. People liked to escape by reading a book. They like to learn about different countries and cultures and history, things that have happened in the world. Many people really enjoy reading biographies and hearing how people have either overcome things in their lives or learning about what they had achieved in their lives. They find them very inspiring. And many people like to read books written by comedians because they found their style was very accessible and very funny and it was very uplifting. So that was the kind of books that people talked about in the Happiness Club. And I have to agree, finding a great book and loving a book makes us feel fantastic. But let me tell you more. Like also, there's a whole term called bibliotherapy. There's a whole therapy out there called bibliotherapy. And that is that we can work through issues or feelings that we have by reading particular books. That there's actually people who prescribe books. So when a character goes through an emotion, a situation similar to yourself, then you can identify and work through how you feel. And so there's a whole field called bibliotherapy. Sometimes it's combined with writing as well, but a whole way to work through and grow and deal with emotions through reading. And in fact, I've got this beautiful book here. It's called the Novel Cure, and it's a whole A to Z of different ailments and suggestions of books for those ailments. I absolutely love it. It's called the Novel Cure. And it's absolutely beautiful. You can just flick it open and have a look at how you're feeling and a suggestion of a book that will help you work through those emotions. It's an absolutely beautiful book. So another one to add to the pile, but I'm reading it as well. So there's a whole world out there of therapy around books. And there's also a lot of research about why books are so good for us. And they have a huge impact on our mental health and on our happiness. Let me share with you some of that research and things that are going on out there. There was an interesting study done in the Applied Social Psychology Journal where they studied Harry Potter books. And the research found that those books help lead to having a much more open mind, to being less prejudiced and more tolerant because of the struggles and the characters within those books. So, very encouraging for all of us who read that, and particularly young people reading that, to be much more open minded and more tolerant. And definitely that's backed up with like a lot of research. There was research done in the New School in New York City that found that literary fiction improves children's capacity for empathy and of understanding how others are thinking and feeling. So, books are a great way to educate our children to be more compassionate and more empathetic towards others. And of course, we have that too as we read. We identify with characters, we like characters, we follow them, and we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. So, very good that way. I'm thinking about like where we are. We're recording this in January 2021. We continue to be in the pandemic, and it's a difficult time. I think many of us are feeling the loss of the closeness in relationships, but also the restrictions and not being able to travel. And so books allow us to travel around the world, don't they? They allow us to be somewhere else, to explore a different country, to learn about a country, but also just experiencing by like if a fictional character is somewhere where it's set, where the story is set, it allows us to travel at a time where we're quite restricted and we learn about different people and their lives. And it's nice to have those relationships with characters too. Um, uh, I like this quote from George R. Martin, who says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only once." So it allows us to experience so much more when we can't travel or if we're not being able to get around the world yet. It allows us to explore much, much more than just our sphere of life. So I really like that too. So I think it's something that's really nice too. I think that must be in my mind as one of the latest books I picked up was set in Italy. So I think I'm feeling that desire to travel and those restrictions right now. So let's just explore and be in different places. Um, it also helps us escape from the real world, doesn't it? It's nice. There's a lot going on right now. And so I know for me, I tend to choose books that are fiction and like, yeah, just in a different world so that, just not really based on anything in reality right now. So I feel that I just can have some time to escape from everyday life and the realities that are going on. So it allows us to get a break from, all the stresses and strains that are around just now. Um, it's very relaxing to read. There's nothing better than curling up with your favorite cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate. I had a cat up until last year, so I was always curled up with him and a cozy blanket and my book. And I think that's like one of my most happiest places for me is just being curled up with a book. But reading allows us to be in a flow state, and I've talked about that a lot in my videos, putting ourselves in a flow state, which is like getting in the zone. You ever get a book and you're just totally absorbed in it, and you just forget where you are for a while. You're just in that story, and like so much time can go past. Or maybe when you were out and about traveling, maybe you're on a bus or a train or something, and you almost miss your stop because you're so engrossed in the story. Well, that's in a flow state. That's being in the zone. And it's great because it takes your brain away from that part of overthinking or over analyzing, over worrying or feeling anxious. And you're totally in the place of just like that story, and you're just fully absorbed in reading that book. And so it's a great way to reduce our stress and to feel much more relaxed. And there was actually a great study done on like how much it affects our stress from the University of Surrey. And they found that reading was one of the most de-stressing activities you could do. It reduced our stress by 68%, compared to things like music, which is wonderful. We talked about music, like 61%. Having a cup of tea was around 54%, or going for a walk at 42%. So simply picking up a book and losing yourself in a story for a while was like the most effective way to reduce our stress. So lovely and easy, and just and fun, hopefully as well. Um, it can also help you sleep better. Um, Losing yourself in that, as I say, calming the stress, relaxing is great. But of course, we're also then, if you've got a paperback book, a real physical book, then we're reducing our screen time. We're not on our screens, which we know with the light can really affect our sleep patterns. So reading a good old traditional book can help us relax, unwind, and get ready for bed, and hopefully provide you with a good sleep. And I also read a great study about how it can increase your self esteem. And this was a study done in the University of Liverpool. And they surveyed well over 4,000 people. And they found that this was in the UK, of course. So they found that 58% of the UK population read regularly. And those who read for 30 minutes per day are 20% more likely to be more satisfied with their life. 21% less likely to have the feelings of depression, and 10% more likely to report good levels of self-esteem. And I just thought that was great figures, isn't it? So simply reading about 30 minutes a day decreases our stress, increases our levels of self-esteem, lowers the feelings of depression. And of course, then that makes us feel happier. I also read a study that said that reading every day can put another up to 2 years on your life. So that sounds like a great byproduct of reading. So I just thought I'd throw that one in. So that's really good. So there's lots of great research on it. And so I just wanted to finish up with a lovely quote from Stephen King. He wrote this on writing a memoir of the craft, and he said, "Books are uniquely portable magic." And I just thought that was a beautiful phrase. And it is, you can have a book anywhere with you at any time and go into a different world wherever you are. And I mean, the beauty of having a Kindle, if you have one of those, an electronic reader, is that you can carry hundreds or thousands of books around with you and always have access to something to read. There's also, finally, a little bit of research that says even 6 minutes per day is beneficial. So even if you feel that you don't have hours available, even a minimum of 6 minutes a day has a huge effect on how we feel. But I hope when you hear this, that you will think about reading books, and how this is good for your health, good for your mental well-being, good for your happiness. Great way to de-stress and unwind and feel better in yourself just by reading a really good book. So thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.